Hi, I'm Andrew Fleck with your Monday's Map Outlook, and we're going to go through a few points today. We're going to look at the outlook of your radar map, and then we're going to go into the models and talk about the models mainly tonight because we're just going to kind of talk about what this storm right now is going to do, and then another storm, and then the big hype that everybody keeps talking about, the 300-hour storm, and we can have some fun with that. I'll show you some graphics and such, but I want to make more of a realistic note on that. But we're first going to actually go to the radar. And seemingly a little bit quiet. We do have some central U.S. Excitement. Still some snow around Kansas. We actually had good snow come around the area in here for the past day or so. And it was more so in this area right here that I actually saw the good amounts of snow. I think Denver had a foot, I believe, and then we had surrounding areas with about like 4 to 6 inches of snow. Some areas like 2 or 3, but all in all, it was a pretty good snowstorm out of the blue. But this is a cutoff low, though. This is a cutoff system. Cuts off from the northern jet, so what happens is you really don't have this storm able to keep moving. It just kind of steadily weakens. It doesn't have the northern jet to fuel it. When it comes down, it's got enough fuel, but it kind of loses it as it moves further on. You do have some rain, though, just extending around here on the front. Maybe some heavier stuff around Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois, but other than that, it's not a real big issue. Really, not at all. I think you have some of that precip even extending into Ohio and Pennsylvania. Elsewhere, we still have that northern jet that keeps creeping over Washington and Oregon, and they have just been getting so much wintry mixing and snowing and rain. It's been pretty sweet, but that's the Washington, Seattle, Oregon weather. You always have that rain, that winds, those clouds. That's pretty common, so you can't really go and wave too much at that. So, I mean, looking at the radar though, overall, doesn't look too much of a real active time right now. So there really is no hazardous weather at this time. So that's where we're going to kind of leave that, and now we're going to go into the models and look at that. So here's your 84-hour forecast. This is for this coming Friday, and I usually try to find a pretty good marker here. I usually try to do red. I hope it comes up well enough for you guys to see, but over here around Michigan, this is where you have that storm that I was talking about. It's kind of like a cuts off from the northern jet, and you're probably just going to have that bring rain across the Tennessee Valley by Tuesday, by Wednesday, then by Friday starts to extend some rain over PA, just around it. Probably some areas because of that cutoff does have that area of 540 or 32 degrees. You're probably going to get some snow out of that. But like I said, as the storm continues to move, it weakens. So instead of going from a major monster snow, you're going to go from probably showers to then flurries. But either way you look at it, I think someone does get some more flurry action or snow showers out of that. And heck, I won't even bet on maybe a dusting or so, even up to Friday. Then as we go down further, we're going to then talk about this storm right here, because this is actually the storm that then comes and arrives afterwards, and that comes down around Texas. And you kind of see the jet here. It kind of comes down, picks up some Gulf energy, moves across the southern states, then moves up along the coast. So looking at this next imagery here, you kind of get me. Coastal across the coast. You see just another storm knocking out some pretty good rain and winds along the coastal northeast and mid-Atlantic. Probably nothing like what we've seen for the past week, but just another coastal, the rough in the seas, little wind and little rain here and there. I would keep an eye on that, though. I wouldn't doubt if that's a little more than a little by maybe next Monday. So again, keep an eye on that. You never know. I mean, look what happened last week. It was supposed to be something like this, and it turned into a monster storm. So I think whenever you have a coastal, you gotta take that a little seriously. Elsewhere, you start to see a bigger area of colder, chillier weather over the central and western United States, and you kind of start to say to yourself, a lot of folks are like getting closer to Thanksgiving. It's getting closer to December, and we're saying, okay, well, it's got to start getting cold now. It's got to start, getting ready for that snowy time of the year. It's coming. I can tell you that. It's definitely coming, but a lot of folks kind of just want to keep going and talking about the big snowstorm on the models, and I'm not ready to really talk about that. I think the way that we do get a pattern, and here it is, it's pretty, actually very impressive to say the least, but I think the way that you do get a pattern shift to get us into winter is going to be through a storm like this. Whether you like it or not, I believe that's how it happens. I don't think it just happens within just a high pressure coming down and putting us in, wintry weather. I think that there's going to be storm involved with this whole pattern in December coming in. And whether you like it or not, like I said, it's going to come with a storm. A storm like this, maybe not, but I think definitely given the pattern this year, we've had storms come in from the west, they dive down to the south, scagger around the southern states, and then move up the coast. So that's kind of been the pattern, and I love this pattern, to be quite honest with you. Storms dive down around the southern states, around the Gulf, pick up so much energy and moisture. In the wintertime, it's great because you have all that cold air up in the mid-Atlantic and northeast. Then you get a storm like that, you can get some big snowstorms. I look forward to that this winter more than anything. But as of right now, there's going to be probably a storm that shakes up this pattern, and that's the only way I think winter's going to come into the northeast in December. So look forward to that. But anything like this, I would not really go looking forward to. You're in a long range. I think, what is this hour? 3:36. So that's even pretty out there itself. So, I mean, there's no reason to wishcast or hype, but we know that probably any way to see finally some pattern change coming in, you're going to have a big storm. And like I said, just keep watching it, but don't look at the storms out in the long range. Look at the pattern. A lot of folks go and look at the temperatures. They look at the storm, and they kind of watch it from 300 to 200, and then it's gone because it's still the medium range. Long range models are not good on that. But what I watch is I watch the pattern, because that makes a little more sense to see if that's consistent on the models rather than a storm. Last but not least is going to be the GFS ensembles run the 850 temperatures, upper air and mid levels. And usually what's been happening this year is we've had more of a positive energy up here, okay? And what's happened is you couldn't have the trough come down and connect, okay, with a negative up here and a negative down here, creating central to eastern United States in a negative pattern with a trough. So far we've had it, like I said, been positive, and that created it positive up here. So given this imagery, and this is the same imagery as that storm I was showing you, which I'm not too fond of it happening like that, at least right now, it finally goes negative. And it finally goes negative down here around the east. So I think the only way that's going to happen is if a big storm comes down, it collects or connects with the upper central Canadian air, and I think that's when you start getting the train occur. And then this is when you start to see all this positive and warmer mid-levels and surface levels start to affect the west, and then you finally have this colder air starting to come down across the central to eastern United States. So that's the kind of way I look at this map, but either way you put it, it's far off yet. Are you looking at 336 hours, 384 hours? It's a long way off, folks. But either way, looking at wintertime, I think the way that the east is going to get into that finally cold, consistent spell, you're going to need a storm. And whether it's big or small, you got to have a storm that's going to mix this pattern in and finally be able to bring the troughs coming in. We saw all fall and summer, or at least the end of summer, high pressures were just dominating the Atlantic. And, they're not there anymore. And at least as we continue through November into December, they're not going to be there. And that's when the troughs are going to open up and you're going to see storms. So I would keep an eye on it, but as far as it is now, we just got to stick to what we're dealing with now, with some of the storms that can still erupt single-handedly over the United States. So again, that is it for your Monday's Night Map Outlook. I'm U.S. Weather Analyst Andrew Fleck, and have a good Monday, and I'll talk to you guys on Tuesday morning.